it's very quickly. The time flies by really quickly. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate all of you. I appreciate this community where you continue to be diligent and you continue to find ways to help each other and also to support each other. And I think that is very important. Not only is it very important, but I think it's also very vital to the progress that each and every one of us is making in terms of cultivation. Okay, so on top of that, I think most of you probably know that every week on Sunday mornings, there is the Chinese version of the Dharma Review. And in that Dharma Review, I tend to be more topic oriented. You know, it's very specific. It goes into master sharing, almost verbatim, almost word by word. And I explain, or I try to explain in the views of master, or in my personal opinion, on what it actually means and how it might mean to you. And on Saturdays, today, it is more of a free exchange of ideas and understandings. And I think this platform, especially this platform, maybe because it's English, that it's somehow is more liberating, that we're not so confined into a particular, a particular doctrine, that it has to go a certain way. So that's how I enjoyed it. It brings me back to my roots in the Western studies, in that it's supposed to be more freeform. Okay, that's how I view Saturday mornings. And even when something is a little bit heavier, when I mention something like true emptiness and the wondrous existence, something that's heavier on the Dharma, I always like to bring a little bit lighter side of it. Maybe add in a joke or add in a movie or things like that. So that's how I like Saturdays to be. There is content in the Dharma, and there's also substance in the content itself. So today, as a way of thanking you, and I wanted to stress that very importantly, that because of your support, your continued support, and because of our dedication to Dharma, that we continue this. And many questions, and many of you send in questions for somehow trying to get an answer. And many times I couldn't do that because of time, because of topic. So today, as before, there are sessions where I just dedicate all the time to QA. And I would like to, as a lot of times people ask, why do you go live online if there's no interaction? Well, there is, right? There is at the end, but it's true. So today I wanted to do some type of quasi interaction, live interaction, in that at least let me try to do what I can to get some questions out of the way. So starting in 2021, there are already questions that's piling up, and questions that I think are very important, that when I see these questions, I feel the depth of the person asking. I feel that the people are thinking deep into this, and I feel that it also inspires my thinking, that it gets my brain juices flowing. And it's something that I would like to share with all of you. So one of the questions, in fact, it's the first question out of 2021. There are still some questions remaining in 2020 that I still need to get to. But for today, there are these questions that I really want to get to. And I try to get to all of them because I think that's the best thing that I can do. Maybe in the future, we can even do an open live session where anybody could ask anything and anybody could answer if you wanted to. Okay, that would be even more fun as a true live session, a live chatathon, chatathon. Anyway, that's in the future. Okay, so the question is, why is it important to understand fourfold mindfulness? How does it help one to progress in cultivation? And when I read this question, I felt, wow, okay, Great. For whoever that asked this question, thank you to point out something that is very important, which is fourfold mindfulness. And then it shows me that the person is seeking a particular doctrine or particular teaching. How does it actually help progress in our own cultivation? This is all very good. It's almost like, you read somewhere on the brochure that, this is the best treatment, for your back pain, for your, not sleeping well, etc. Right? There's a brochure on all the scientific fact. And then you read it, and why is it important to know this? And then you go, how does it help me? This is a very important question to ask in how does it help me progress? How does it help one person progress in cultivation? Because that means that you have your eyes set, you have your goals set on making this progress in cultivation. Okay, so first, what are the four for mindfulness, right? And in Chinese, it's called 四念处. And Chinese is a little bit different, and I'll get into that later. But in essence, it's the four things that you are mindful of. First is the mindfulness of the body. That is the mindfulness of the feelings and sensations. Mindfulness of mind and consciousness, and then mindfulness of Dharma. Okay, so that's the fourfold mindfulness, right? You're mindful of these four things or four stages that you're mindful of. And the question was, why is it important? And how does it help one progress in cultivation, right? So let's look into why is it important. And this is something that I thought is very important because, first of all, you probably would know that this is the first part of the 37 principles of enlightenment, right? There's three fours, there's four mindfulness, and then there's, three of the fours, and then there's 2 5s, and then there's 7 and 8. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's just a bunch of numbers, right? And the reason why it's a bunch of numbers is because the scholars always like to categorize things, right? These are the things that go together, that go well together. So you put them into these groups, like your pyramid, your food pyramid. It's the same idea, right? You group things together, right? And these are the four things that got grouped together. Okay, so and the reason why it's important, well, to me, because every time, and it happens many times. So 20 years ago, I joined Tzu Chi Foundation, and one of the first book studies that we had was on the 37 Principles of Enlightenment. And so before every week there's a book study, and then we have to read a portion of it, right? And before the book study comes, I always open the books, right? Except it never really happened. I probably open it every month, once a month, right? When I have time, I'll open it. And every time I open to the beginning part. You start from page 1. And every time you go into the 37 Principles of Enlightenment, it goes into the fourfold mindfulness. So this is the part that I'm the most familiar with because I read it many times, because you reopen the books many times and you reread this part many times. And that's why you think it's important. Okay. Anyway, that's that aside. Why is it important? I think let's go into a little bit more about what we're trying to do. One of the most important aspects of any teaching, I believe, it's realization. It's to know. It's to realize, right? It's to realize, and any aspect of any teaching, meaning it teaches you whether it's Pure Land, whether it's Zen Buddhism, whether it's meditation, any of it. It all talks about how do you realize, how do you feel, know about certain things. And that's all realization, knowing certain things, realizing certain things, right? And realization happens because of observation. You realize certain things because you begin to observe. You begin to observe yourself. You begin to, while you meditate, you begin to observe what your thoughts are, what you're thinking. You begin to realize and think and observe your stomach. And then you realize you didn't eat breakfast. That's why it's hungry, right? So you make an observation. It's making some noises. and then you realize you're hungry. So the first step is observe what is happening and then realize why it is happening. So that's always the steps that it takes. So fourfold mindfulness is important because it's more about, it teaches us about observation, the importance of observation. It emphasizes on observation. And then it takes us deeper. It propels us deeper into observing deeper. And that takes the 4 steps, right? So let's go into each one of them. So first, observe the body is unclean. Okay, that's the actual literal translation. The literal translation from the Chinese, observe the body is unclean. So what does it actually mean? If you go into reading the text, you probably realize that it actually doesn't mean the body is unclean. It actually says, because if you say the body is unclean, all you need to do is clean it. But it's not what it's trying to say. What it's trying to say is that observe the body is the source of impurity. That even if you clean it today, the very next moment it began your metabolism, then it begins to be unclean again. So you go from observing the outer body is unclean, progresses into observing the body is the source of impurity. A lot of things that is seen to be not so clean, not so pure, comes from the body's need. Okay, so that is why I think it's important. It stresses and it teaches you about observing, from seeing the things on the surface and then seeing the things underneath the surface, and then seeing the things behind what you see and what it actually means. That's what it teaches you. Okay, so it goes through observing the body, and then it goes into observing the sensations, how you feel, right? How you feel about certain things. So observing the sensations of suffering. And then it goes into a little bit deeper. You're not just observing the sensation of suffering. Why would you want to observe the sensation of suffering? Many people would rather observe the sensation of joy, the sensation of something that you enjoy more, that makes you happy, that makes you loved, that makes you care, right? So why would you want to observe the sensation of suffering? No, it's not just that. It observes the sensations of the source. The sensation is the source of suffering. You begin to realize that you feel happy, that you feel sad, you feel joy, you feel empowered, you feel loved and care. And then you realize all of those are the beginning or the source of suffering, because the moment you feel loved, you fear losing it. The moment you feel care, you fear that other people might take it away. That's how we feel. You begin to observe, and that is always the first step. And that is why I think the importance isn't so much on what you're observing, but is the observation itself. Then it goes into the third part, which is observe that the consciousness is ever changing. You progresses into the laws of karma and nature, meaning why is it ever changing? Why is it your heart and your mind and your consciousness is always flickering and changing? Why? Well, then you realize it's flickering in and out. It goes in and out or changes all the time. Why? Because that is how the laws of karma and nature progresses. There isn't something that's always abiding. It's always something that is a combination of all the things around, all the time and all the factors combining to form our consciousness, or the constant that we see as fit. So these last two parts goes into a little bit deeper spiritually. And I would just like to say that I think all of these teaches us to observe deeper and deeper every moment, propels us to see deeper, okay? Okay, so the last part is observe the Dharma of no self, and then you begin to realize there is no self in anything, okay? Meaning that that there is, meaning that it's not just no self, this self, but there isn't a object. For example, this particular remote controller, there isn't a self in this. It's also just a combination of many factors together, just like us, ourselves. So why is this important? Because it's an observation. It teaches us about observation. It tells us the importance that you need to begin by observing. And then it teaches us and takes us deeper from physical observation, right? You observe the physical things. You observe each of the things around you. You observe yourself. You observe the physical things that you can see and touch and hear and feel, right? And then it goes into mental, which is consciousness, which is something that you can visualize in your mind, something more of the mind. Then it goes into spiritual. These are the things that these observations helps us. Observation of the physical, of the mental, and of the spiritual. And that is why I think that is important, because it goes deeper each time. And then perhaps it's the translation, but you observe with your eyes, you observe with your skins, your ears, your nose. You begin to watch, to look, to see, to hear, to smell, to taste, to touch. But then it goes into be mindful. That is why in the English translation, it changes from the Chinese observe to be mindful. And I think it's a very great transformation because we are able to see both languages. And I'm sure in its own native tongue, it must mean something else altogether. But the important thing is it teaches us. It tells us observe is important. It teaches us observing the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And then it tells you it's not just observing, it's be mindful. It's put your thought onto it. It's be mindful of the instant, of the moment, of what is happening, of the things around you. That is being mindful. That is so much bigger than just observe. Observe feels like it's very unitary, it's very one thing. It's only with the eyes. But when you're being mindful, you're opening up your eyes, you're opening your ears, you're smelling more, you're feeling it, you're getting the entire sensation and be mindful, okay? So, and then it goes through from existence to true emptiness, right? It goes from talking about your body, talking about your feeling, into talking about there's no self in anything. So it goes from existence to true emptiness, and then begins the next phases in the 37 principles of enlightenment. So why are the 4 mindfulness very important? I think what it does is it teaches you the importance of observing. And I think that is very important in all schools, including ourselves too. It's not just about helping others, but observe how you feel, observe how they react. That is important, right? So observing and then be mindful, observing your body, observing the sensation, observing your consciousness, and then observing the Dharma all around you. And then be mindful of it. And then it goes into true emptiness. There's no self. All the things around you are all just happen to compose of many, many factors. If you break them all down, there's nothing that actually exists by itself. It's all composed of many, many things happening together at this moment. But as you go to the last part of the 4 for mindfulness, which is there is the observing the Dharma of no self, then you begin the next phases of the 37 principles of enlightenment, which brings you into wondrous existence. What do you do? What can you do? What should you do? And those are the 8 rightful paths and the 5 strengths and all of that, the 5 roots and the 5 strengths. All of that tells you, well, out of all this true emptiness, what can you do? And that's wondrous existence. So I think it's very important because it teaches us about observation, because it emphasizes on observation. That's what we need to do. And it propels us to observe deeper. Imagine that to yourself. Do you see things around you the way that you should be mindful of? And that's why Master says, always be mindful, because you should be mindful of all the things at all times. And that's what this teaches us. Okay, so I spent a great deal of time on this question because I think it's very important. And you're asking why it's important. I'm telling you why I think it's important. And how does it help you progress? Well, it teaches about observing. Do you see the things on the outside? Do you see the things on the inside? Do you see the things behind this? Do you see the meaning in all of that? When you do see all of that, then ask yourself to be mindful of the things on the outside, mindful of the things on the inside, mindful of the meanings behind all of this. When you're all of that, then you begin to see all of things. So that's the first step, which is be mindful and be observing. So that's the first question of 2021, and I'm very thankful for all of you for submitting the questions. And the second question. So once again, I think this is just like me. I like to ask questions, and I like to think, especially the stories. The stories, they always have this very important model, like this is the moral of the story is something, 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 right? So that's the most important thing. And then you hear many stories, and then you already know what the moral of the stories are. For me, I like to look into the details of the story. And I like to know about certain things, like I observe, right? Be mindful of all the things around and what is happening. So the question is, from chapter 1, we hear the Venerable Kasyapa, which is Jia Zunzi, okay, reprimanded the Venerable Ananda for a few incidents. And I think there are many, okay, I think there are 6 or 7. And maybe we hear more on 4 of them, but they go through a list of the things that Venerable Ananda did wrong. So one of it was that, and thank you for listing them out. One of it was that Venerable Ananda stepped on Buddha's robe, but then Ananda actually replied, understanding further, we know that it was not his fault. It wasn't Ananda's fault, but because the wind blew the robe to the foot. So it's almost like you're taking a step and it wasn't there before when you took the step. But when you step on the ground, the wind blew the robe and it go underneath the foot. And then it seems like you stepped on it. But when in fact, when you took the step, it wasn't there and they eventually got there, right? So that was what happened. And then another issue was on the inability to fetch water for Buddha to quench his thirst. But then Ananda also replied that the water was not clean, that there was a huge team of cars and people traveling through the water. So the water was all muddy, right? Imagine that the water is not sitting on its own, right? The people walking over it, so there's the mud inside, and then we've got flare, and then the wheels are not clean, the shoes are not clean, so the water wasn't clean. So you have to wait until it all settled down, then the water will be clean again. But the Buddha was really, really thirsty at that moment, the moment when it was the dirtiest. And there was no time for Ananda to really fetch it, to be settled, to be clean. So it was impossible to let the Buddha drink it. Okay, so these are only 2 of the, I think, 6 or 7 accusations that was made against Ananda. Okay, so why did the Venerable Kasyapa resort it to these issues when it seemed unfair? Why? Okay, so once again, it goes into a very good seeing the story and not just taking it for what it is, but asking questions about why. Okay, so I like to mention this, right? The importance of the accusations is not in the substance of what you're accusing, but how Ananda received it. Okay, it's not about I'm accusing you of this and I'm listing out your crimes and these are the evidences and I'm the lawyer and I'm gonna present it to the judge and the jury. It's not that, okay? All of this is, I wanna see how you receive this, okay? So I think it was a test, a push, an encouragement. If you know the stories of what's happening around at that time, Ananda had just been, very, very sad because of the passing of the Buddha. And he left this emotion, a very strong emotion, And that somehow blocked him, that somehow inhibits him to move on to the next layers and levels of cultivation. So there has to be a push, an encouragement somehow, so Ananda can begin to observe himself, to realize and to transform. So I think this is a perfect example of how you see things one way on the surface, and then you can see what's in it, and then you can see what's behind it. And that's what this is. On the surface, it's an accusation. It's someone throwing accusations at you, whether there's substance or whether there is not, something that is sure to piss people off. And so it's not about how the accusation substance, it's about how you receive it. So what did Ananda do? So Ananda replied. He responded to all these instances with accurate account and reason. He explained that this is what happened, this is what I did, and this is what I thought happened, and this is why I did all of that. But the most important part is that it isn't in the substance of the accusation and the response. The most important thing is that Ananda accepted all of this accusation because he was grateful. He was grateful that someone observed very, very closely. You know, it's almost like when master is on the trip and we're all caring about the schedule, the itinerary, and how the well-being of the master. And then someone would come to you and they would say, did you realize that when master walks, that she was tilting on one way or the other? And for me, I'm grateful because you're seeing things that I might have missed. You're caring about master the same way or even more so than I care for master. That I'm grateful. The same thing is happening here, right? So all these things that happen, people care and people wanted to care and people really put attention onto this. But most importantly, because they all care about Buddha and they love Buddha too. And they wanted to use this as a way to explain yourself. But most importantly, Ananda's attitude was, I accepted all this because it all happened. I can't refute the fact that I didn't step on the road, but I explain why. I can't refute the fact that this happened, but I can explain. So he accepted all of this because it all happened, but he responded with grace. He responded with respectfulness, with gratitude. And that is very important because that's how it pushed him. So that is the ultimate test. It is not about that it's an unfair accusation. It's about how you react and what you choose to do. So unfairness, right? We all hear this. Life is unfair. People see things in the slice of time that they are able to observe. And some people, most people, will see things on the surface. They won't even observe deeper into the inside or into the behind the meaning. They won't. So there are going to be unfair accusations about this. That's all a test for you, that how you react, how can you gracefully respond and reply, accurately resort to the accounts of what happened and respond and reply. And then what do you choose to do about this? Ananda choose to accept because it all happened. But he explained it and then he said, because I respect you, because I'm grateful, I accept all of this. And that is how it pushed him forward in his cultivation. He no longer thinks what is right or wrong, but indeed it happened. But in his mind, what was he thinking? Which I think I wanted to, as time is really coming down, I wanted to go into this question, number 3, which is the meaning behind the Buddha when holding a flower, yet only, once again, Mahakashyapa smile in return. Can we understand the message behind this? And I have 2 minutes to explain. The story there are many versions on what is happening. So the story behind it, as I know, was that in the morning or at a time where Master Buddha was about to give sermon and give a speech, he did it, right? So he sat there, and I'm sure, as we probably know from the introductory chapter of Lotus Sutra, that when it's time for the Buddha to speak, but the Buddha chose not to speak, then people begin to wonder why and what is going on, right? So that moment, people are looking around and see why this is the time for the Buddha to talk, but Buddha isn't talking. Why? And so the Buddha did one motion, right? Took down the flower and looked at it. And then at that moment, the disciple, the foremost disciple, smiled. And then the Buddha said, okay, well, you know, the teachings, now you have the teaching, you know what I'm thinking, so the mentors are now passed on to you. Okay, so that's the very short version of the story. So what does it all mean, right? What does it all mean? I think what it means, obviously, let's start with observing, right? And be mindful. And it's not what happens in the story, it's how you react to it. Once again, everybody in their mind, in their heart was thinking, well, why isn't the Buddha talking? Why isn't the Buddha talking, right? And then there's some motion, whether it's the flower, whether it's looked up or looked down or whatnot. I really don't think it's really the flower itself. Maybe there are many symbols and people explain this, you know, dissected to death, okay, this particular thing. But only I think of it is how you react to it. And the disciple reacted in a way that no one else did. And I think that was the key. Everybody reacted the way that they're supposed to react. Only one person reacted the way that out of the ordinary. And that's how we're supposed to think, right? It's not to react differently from everybody else, but it's to go against your natural tendency to react. When somebody spit at you, what is your natural tendency to react? You're going to be angry. That's your natural tendency. But can you see beyond? Can you observe beyond? Can you be mindful of what's going on? Can you see what's going to happen if you angrily react to this? That's the key. So it's not what happens, it's how you react to it. So I'm not going to go into the depth of all those stories and detail of the story because people dissected every detail to death. But to me, I think that the important thing is because of the way how he chose to react. And I think that's very different. So thank you, everybody. Once again, I'm a little bit over time, but I would like to say thank you. And this is my way of saying thanks in that I do care and I do go into all your questions and I enjoy answering these questions. Maybe in the future, we could have a live cast where, you know, it's you asking the questions and then other people can answer. I can reply to, and masters are here, they could all respond. And I think that would be a very fun session too. And I think Saturday mornings, it's something that we could do for each other and for ourselves. Thank you. And now let us welcome Dr. Eddie Chang for the sharing. Thank you.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, can see.
Good morning, brother and sister. My honor today, able to share with you about the way to, or challenges to reverse diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol in 21 days. It always make me think of a book Around the World in 80 Days, where you have so many challenges, adventurous going on in these 80 days. It's same as this one in 21 days as well. So of course, we know that Malaysia is a place with different culture together. There were Chinese culture, Indian culture, Malay culture, and every culture have their own delicious food. Okay, so you make Malaysia one of the heaven for delicious food. Okay, but at the same time, we have to pay the price of having the overweight of 50% in Malaysian population, high cholesterol, and 40% of the people have high cholesterol, 30% have hypertension, and 20% have diabetes. Okay, and heart disease is one of the leading cause of death in Malaysia. About 50% per day die from heart attack. Okay? And with impact of COVID-19, okay, so we did a study. It's more than 80% of the COVID death reported to have at least, okay, one underlying health condition. So many people start wondering, what can we do? Okay, only you can help yourself. But the question is, how? Okay, the first answer we think is lifestyle and food, but how to do it? How to do it? Okay. There's a lot of so-called healthy meal in the market. Okay. Many meals, whether it's vegetarian or non-vegetarian, they claim they are healthy, they're healthy meal, but does it work? Nobody knows. Okay. So we have done years and research to find what I mean by the healthy diet. Okay, and our team is looking around what diet is most suitable for most people, because we need to find a diet is easy to understand, okay, and easy to prepare, okay, and suitable for most people. Okay, we're not talking about just a customized meal for certain person. We need to think of what is a healthy diet for suitable for mass majority of the people. Plus, how about for those who have chronic diseases? It also help to prevent, help to manage if you have chronic diseases, or the diet even help to reverse it sometimes. So is there such diet available? Okay, so through years and looking around, okay, we found there's one diet is fulfill all these criteria. We call it whole food plant-based diet. Okay, so whole food plant-based diet, summarize it, means is a vegan, okay, vegan with no highly processed food, okay, with no or very less cooking oil, salt to taste, I mean just enough to taste, and less natural sugar and no refined sugar. Look simple, but also look difficult in a way, okay? Because in this diet, they have multiple research and shown, okay, they can help in lower cholesterol, improve blood pressure, reduce heart disease risk by 40%, and even help for type 2 diabetes, lose weight, lower cholesterol, improve glucose control. But the questions come, the challenges come. I do not know how to cook. Who can teach me how to cook? Or I have no time to cook. I always eat outside. Whenever I eat outside, even vegetarian or non-vegetarian, I cannot find certain food fulfill this criteria. That's how, okay, that's how the 21 days of healthy diet program come into the place, okay, which is organized by Tzu Chi with the help of the team members, okay. So this 21 days healthy diet program is to use food to manage weight and lifestyle illness and regain health. And we send the food to your office and home every day, lunch and dinner. Okay? And we can do a blood test to understand your health before and after the food. So you can notice, okay, the changes in your body, not only physical observation, but also in the clinical report observation. So the whole objective is we want to improve, okay, use diet to improve your chronic illness like hypertension, overweight, cholesterol, diabetes with whole food plant-based diet and enhance our wellness. And also we hope to improve the population who adopt vegetarian diet. So we have many teams. One of the team, we call it a QC team, quality control team, where they formed by volunteers, doctor, dietitian, nutritionist. We will get a restaurant, okay, look for a restaurant willing to cook the plant-based food based on our criteria, okay, and then we will help them, okay, to work together to set up the food menu, okay, monitor the food menu, the lunch and dinner, and make sure the recipes fulfill the criteria and with quality and nutrition. Okay, like this type of food is actually done by those restaurants. Okay, different restaurants have different style, Then, if the menu is confirmed, then we have food tasting and food menu assessment. We taste every meal with the exact portion and see whether they fulfill the criteria. Okay. And when it runs out for these 21 days to deliver to all the participants, these 21 days, QC team will assess to taste the food every day for 21 days, just to ensure the quality is remain and the criteria that following strictly. Okay. So this 21 days healthy diet program actually is organized as a non-profit basis. So we are not collecting any fees or commission at all. So we always ask the participant, you just register, then we will inform you with more detailed information how you can pay the food charges and pay the fees for the blood test directly to the restaurant and clinic. And after your payment done, okay, then only you can become a confirmed participant. So far, as of 5th of March until now, okay, totally we have 280 participants who have finished the program. Okay, about 30% are non-vegetarian. We will expect in the future more non-vegetarian will join the group, because in the beginning part when we started the program, many volunteers are so-called rushing, to rushing to the queue to join the program when they know the program. So there's many volunteers, okay, but we believe in the future when program runs, more non-volunteer, more public members, non-vegetarian will come in. So these 21 days is beside the food, okay, we have formed a team, okay, a caring team. Is 21 days of motivation and caring, okay. They're all formed into the groups, okay, a support group. In these 21 days, we give them healthy diet information, nutritional information, how to eat a breakfast and afternoon tea, okay. And then any question and answer, we can try to answer you. And we give them encouragement, don't give up, okay? And we have some weekend online gathering together. We can chit chat, any questions you want to ask, okay? We can give some information, etc. Okay. And after during these 21 days, we have designed 21 days of poster, okay? We give them every day one poster, okay, to re-enhance the information to stick to this plant-based diet or vegetarian meals, okay? All this talking about what is the advantage of taking a plant-based food, okay, etc., in these 21 days. So all are well designed in 21 days poster, okay. At the end of the 21 days, we have a ending ceremony, okay, where the participant can get some certificate, okay, of encouragement, okay. At the same time, we also give some best improvement result, like for example, the best blood pressure, best cholesterol improvement, best weight improvement, blood sugar improvement, press crazy, right? Some people say, oh, it's like a Grammy award, no? Overseas Grammy award, no? Okay. So somehow we found that amongst many reasons why they participate in this program, weight issue is the most concern to most of the participants, okay? So we only can base on the feedback, okay? Not everybody give us feedback. For those who give feedback, for those who come to clinic to do the measurement, okay, of 153 participants, the average weight about 63 kg, okay, in 21 days later, it dropped 2 kg to 61 kg. This is average. This is average, right? Okay. And I just show part of it is about the ending ceremony, part of the ending ceremony where how they give the award.
4.5公斤，我瘦了5公斤，我最厉害，我瘦了5.5
kg。
我吃得很开心，瘦了2公斤，
瘦了3公斤，我的口袋瘦变了，瘦了2公斤。
那我们猜猜看，谁会得到最佳体重改善奖呢？紧张的时刻来咯，我们的得奖者就是赖地军师兄。
So this is how they give the award during the ending ceremony. So this Mr. Lai have dropped 5 kg from 74 kg to 69 kg in 21 days without fasting, okay? And then the principle is eat until you enough, okay? Eat until you feel full, no point of fasting, okay? Just eat so that, and we make sure you have enough nutrition, but they still drop by 5 kg, okay? This is the best improvement of cholesterol from 7 to 3.1. 5.2 is a normal value, okay? Below 5.2 is normal. This is a 3.9. So years of high cholesterol in 21 days is back to normal. Okay, and this blood pressure, by right, is 140 or 90 is a high blood pressure. Okay, it's dropped to normal blood pressure. Okay, so in 21 days as well. Okay, this means Stan have a years of diabetes for years on medications. Okay, despite on medication, the blood pressure, blood sugar is still high, 7.1. Okay, more than 5.6, we call it pre-diabetic already. So after 21 days, blood sugar dropped to 4.8. Okay, and see doctor. Doctor, you have to reduce the medication for the diabetes as well. Okay. So there's many parameter we are measuring during these 21 days. I just took some of it to show you. Okay, in fact, all parameters has improvement. For example, there's a blood pressure. The highest blood pressure was systolic blood pressure. Normally, it's less than 140. There's 37 participants have more than 140. Okay, average 151, and 21 days later become 135. Okay. So there's 89% of the participants have high blood pressure have shown improvement, and 62% of those who have high blood pressure back to normal value. Okay. So fasting blood sugar, to check diabetes, 38 participants have high blood sugar level of average 6.5, and 21 days later, it dropped to 5.6. Okay, on the borderline. So there's 95% of for those with high blood sugar have shown reduction, and 61% even back to normal. Well, amazing, back to normal. Okay. And 132 participants have high bad cholesterol, called LDL cholesterol, okay, which is average value is about 3.4. Okay, normal is less than 2.5, and it could drop to 2.4 in 21 days. Okay, and 96 participants have 6% of participants have reduction, and 55% also back to normal value. Okay, so the many of them have shown a remarkable improvement in many parameters. Okay, and this is some of the sharing of those participants during the 21 days ceremony. Not only these parameter, but other things as well, amazing us as well.
报告看过去就非常的感动和很振奋人心。我行医20年，还是第一次在3个星期里面看到那么多人的一种正向的一个变化，不是一个指标，而是全部的指标。
其实我参与健康挑战21是因为懒惰煮饭，成绩让我喜出望外。我的血压从154跌到106 ，Dr. T 教我减少药量。以前我吃半粒，现在只需要吃1/4粒。
可是吃了这个9天的健康饮食，很 amazing 哦，就是我的体内脂肪就迅速的下降了下来。LDL 就是坏的胆固醇也给了我一个前所未有的漂亮数据，就是 less than 2哦，就是少过2的。
膝盖每次坐下或者蹲下来起不来了，奇怪。然后每次总觉得那个手是很僵硬，所以我其实一直都在看中医，但是都没有好了。其实我是很怕坐跟很怕蹲的，因为一起来真的是痛到半死的。我没有想到吃这个，其实在短短的4天有一天早上我起来，我感觉到怎么我今天少了一个感觉的，怎么我没有痛的感觉呢？后来想想，哎呦，真的是，原来我的脚竟然就是莫名其妙的就这样子好了，我的手也是就这样子的是好了。之前给那中医师一按真的是痛到喊了起来，但是现在我怎么样大力按它都没有事情了。所以你看，现在我后面的这块地给我弄到这样漂亮。
So there's many so-called touching sharing in the 21 ceremony, where all the participants gather together, everybody share their experience. It's a touching moment. Okay, I would like to invite you in the future able to join the ceremony and see and celebrate their success together. The question is, after that 21 days, what is the next step? Okay, so in the ending ceremony, we give them to know how do you choose the correct food in the future. Okay, or how to learn to cook plant-based diet at home. This is very important. And third, for those who cannot fulfill the second or first criteria, then we ask them to, why not you continue to order food from restaurant who can cook whole food plant-based diet. Okay. So we also utilize another platform called Tasty Veggie, who are set up by Tzu Chi, a group of Tzu Chi, a group of Tzu Chi volunteer to help them to set a section called Wholesome Vegan Kitchen, to teach them how to cook whole food plant-based diet. There are many delicious meals available, all without oil or very, very little cooking oil, with whole food plant-based without processed food. All this is using curry, pumpkin curry, zucchini, and then or even vegan-free macaroni and cheese. There's no cheese at all. All are natural plant-based. Plant-based. So after these 21 days, we do a survey. Before that, there's 99 participants are non-vegetarian. And after that, 30% of the participants willing to adopt vegetarian meal. And then 70% is unchanged because this is done during the ending ceremony. We believe all of them really start to observe the power of plant-based diet. And we continue to follow up to encourage them, because most of them have joined a support group, and this support group for every area of every program, they will join the support group, and we keep on encouraging them to adopt a plant-based diet. And also 55 of the participants even adopted the whole food plant-based diet. Not only vegetarian, become even vegan as well. This is participant own cooking at home after they join the program and learn the method how to cook whole food plant-based diet. So all the delicious food, this is look like creamy. There's a yogurt made from soy, without milk, no sugar, and the whole food plant-based diet. So it's a process. It helps me to learn is a process. We give a skillful means. How to reach from the this area to that area, from what we call set diet, standard American diet, to the whole food plant-based diet. It's a process. It's a process of skillful means from different area. We remove the bad things. And then we put in some good things, gather some good things. With perseverance and courageous. And finally to reach the land of the whole food plant-based diet, and hopefully for those that who reach there, they can become a plant-based diet advocate. So it's very similar to the Dharma we learned from the master. From the small vehicle to big vehicle, to one vehicle. And later even whatever thing we receive. We start to not only to learn, but to serve. To advocate. The Dharma the master have teaching us. So we also have one giveaway program, for everywhere, whoever community or whoever country. If you're interested to bring the program to your community or country, just contact us. We can assist you to form a team. We are a central team to support you. We have all the resources that can share with you, with poster, standard messages, programs, documents. All we can give to you, and we can share with you how to run this program. So you can contact us. So at the end, also I'd like to say a thank you, to Professor Colin Campbell. I never meet him personally, but he's the first one to inspire me in the nutritional science and human health, and he's the first one, to teach me, start from the journey of nutritional science, where I learned from him about 2 months courses to learn from him about this nutrition science and human health. And he's my first guru to learn about how to use nutritional science to help human mankind by reversing the many chronic conditions. But I will say that learning knowledge is one thing, but it's a Tzu Chi volunteer to extend the knowledge to reach more people, to turn the knowledge into the wisdom. Because if I know the knowledge alone, okay, there's limited people that I can help, okay. But we Tzu Chi volunteer work together, okay. We have a good teamwork. We spend many hours of day and night try to help to set the menu, okay, communicate with the restaurant, okay, carrying the participant, do the promotions, okay, running the program, okay. With all this, only we can extend the knowledge to reach more people and turn the knowledge into the wisdom. Okay, so I do not know. I must really say thank you or kan'en to all the volunteers who are helping on in this program. Okay, I'm not good in singing and not good in doing sign language. Okay, there's one of the committee, actually they are so touched during the program that the committee even they do a sign language to say thank you to all the participants who join the program in the process, and everybody can improve their health, their growth, okay, and then they can learn, okay. And I would like to send the same video, okay, edited video, to all of you and all the volunteers who have supported this program in any way, and say thank you very much. So in these 21 days, it's a good learning, okay, good challenges for all of us, and may the program continue to benefit more people, including public members, our Tzu Chi brother and sister, and even can extend to our care recipient. And kan'en.
Okay, kan'en, brother Eddie, Dr. Eddie. I think the challenge and the program itself, indeed, is definitely very effective, and we can see that there are many touching stories, and not just on the health part. I think people are really grateful. I don't think it's just the fact that they are now healthier. I mean, it is something to be very joyful, yes. But I think they found that they can beat this thing, that they can overcome this challenge, that they can have the power to change the course of how their body is going. And I think you gave them this will, you know, just like how you were inspired by someone you never knew, you didn't never met before, but they could also be inspired and empowered by what you explained. And even something that is so pleasurable, something that is so enjoyable, to have these meals that, you know, all the pictures that you posted. I'm sure if that could be eaten every day or every meal, I'm sure more people would like to do this. But that is part of the challenge itself. So thank you, Dr. Eddie. So Master, that were here, there were two. Master De Huang was here, and Master mentioned that 21 days there was probably a medical study. And she wanted me to convey this before she had to go, because both of the masters are in the kitchen, the great kitchen. So they have to go in and prepare for the lunch right now, very, very early, yes. And I was and as she was as Master was looking at your PPT and you're listening to your presentation, she shared that 21 days is roughly the cycle of our cells. So it's the same idea, you know, how the cessation, the dying of the habit, or the beginning, the forming of the new one. And 21 days is very important to accumulate memory and accumulate agility. And then she goes and said, well, I can make some food like that. Okay, so, and because, you know, they both work in the kitchen, and I challenged them. I said, well, Master, do you think you could make something like that? And she said, well, look, last night, our food that we ate, we're already very it's already very whole food idea, you know, less sugar, less salty. And I said, Master, is it really last night the food that I ate was very tasteful? I don't think there was less salty. It was very salty. And so Master then recounted her interactions with other more senior members of the Sangha and said that, you know, if the food that you presented lack a certain flavor or lack a certain color, then, you know, they would be, well, not reprimanded, but they will be educated on the spot and said, well, you should, you know, do certain things. So there's still a struggle. There's still a tug of war, even here at the abode, on how do you eat healthy and how do you eat fine and good. So, but the evidence is very, very dominant. The evidence is very clear. The people that participate in the 21-day challenge definitely come out not only healthier, but also mentally wealthier, in that they know they can do this. And now they are part of the advocate, as Brother Eddie mentioned, that you become the advocate. You remove the bad and you add in the good, you accumulate the good. And then you become the advocate because you believe, because you're pushing forward to it. So I do hope that seeing this, I have some inspiration of my own to try to cut down on my sugar intake. And that's never a good thing at my age. Yes, I know. But that's what I think we all need to do, not just 21 days, but for each other. So thank you, Dr. Eddie. It's very informative and it's very touching. And I'm sure, I think if we can all participate, I think we would be able to share the touching stories of our side too. As Master, they share their challenges in the kitchen when they try to prepare food like this.
No oil.
Yeah.
No oil.
No oil and
no cooking oil.
No cooking oil. And it's very, very difficult because Master did. When I challenged her on this, Master said, we did. Last night there was a dish and there was, very less salt and there was no oil. And I couldn't remember that dish. And then the Master said, well, there was a lot of leftover. And so the other Master said that if you cook the way that people can accept or not ready to accept yet, then you would have a lot of leftover. And the people that cooked it will be responsible to eat it. And then they will be afraid to cook it. So then Master De Huang mentioned that it's not just one meal a day. You cannot accumulate that taste. You cannot acquire that taste. You cannot see the results if it's just one meal a day. You need to repeat that. That's why 21 days is important. But even for our shift, it's every 7 days. So you would need to have 3 shifts, people having the same mind. I'm talking about at the abode, okay? Having the same mind and idea, believing in the same idea, okay? And then having 3 weeks shift of people willing to stomach all the things that people are not ready to accept yet. But this is a good challenge, and next time I'll mention to Master De Huang again. Maybe next time, Dr. Eddie, you come back to Hualien, you talk to Master De Huang, and maybe she can get some other the people that are responsible for cooking here at the abode to take on this challenge 21 days.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe I'll start to think about taking business trip on that time.
we have a central team. We have a central team to guide people how to cook tasty, oil-free meal.
Yeah, it has to be tasty and it has to look good. Here at the abode, we have guests coming, okay? And it will be very difficult to explain, even though we could always explain to them, this is for your health. and yet it makes sense, right? But then the guests will be like, well, okay, I'll eat it today, but I'll always remember this as, not the fondest of my memory. But as you mentioned, teach everybody to cook flavorful, and also healthy. I think that's very important. So Mr. Huang is definitely very, very keen on this, and she just had to step away to begin her lunch preparation. I'll take a look on what we eat today. Thank you, Dr. Eddie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What wonderful sharing today, and Brother Joe and Dr. Eddie for the wonderful insights. Indeed, I remember hearing once the sharing by a cooking sifu mentioned that because of I think initially also the cookings that are both quite very simple. That during the old days are very simple, very few foods, but because to serve the guests and also for them to have fond memories. Wow, vegetarian food could be this good. So imagine those starters, first time coming and eating. Not to say, of course, we know 21 days challenge is good. Okay, let's maybe those seasons with lower starter, with more Tzu Chi volunteers, we can implement the 21 days at monastic. Very感恩 to Brother Joe for the very enlightening session. Yeah, the live cast is just like the good old days where we have live session, live Q&A. Maybe we can bring that session. We'll talk about that. Yeah, okay. I'm sure everyone finds today's session very enlightening. The Brother Eddie's side. Let's wait. Not to worry, we have another open Q&A on April 3 with Dr. Will Tuttle and a group of panelists, many from this medical frontliners. So we'll hopefully be April 3 with 3rd of April, we'll have it again. And this recording will cut out this the one on Dr. Eddie for the Malaysian Vegetarian Society. They are also interested to participate. Okay, Dr. Eddie, we are very grateful to you today, not only engaging our global Tzu Chi volunteers, but also going into the masses, the public. Those are already vegetarian, but vegan is another, plant-based is another things altogether. We are truly very humble to have Dr. Eddie, our very dedicated TIMA president, not only very putting in great effort in promoting TIMA, and we could see Dr. Eddie and the team going everywhere, distributing the medical equipment, giving the medical educations during this COVID time. Even heard this, someone shared with me on the Lunar, because New Year Eve, all of us gathering, right? But what about the medical frontliners? They have to work. So I heard Brother Eddie and home sister Chin, they went around distributing warm noodles to the medical frontliners. And Brother Eddie even delved into cooking. Yeah, for those who are not aware, or maybe many of us are aware, Sister Chin and the home sister can cook very well, and Dr. Eddie also go into it. Someone asked me, wow, Dr. Eddie is so jokingly said desperate in promoting, but we know that is the great diligence of Dr. Eddie. So very kind. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us today for your